When my 7-year-old was diagnosed with autism 4 years ago, I remember sitting in the room with the psychiatrist and the other diagnosing physicians being given the diagnosis. And I remember the psychiatrist telling me this. She said, "Now, I know you like the idea of homeschooling, but it is not possible for you to provide the structure and environment for your autistic child to succeed." Now, at the time, I was already homeschooling my 2 oldest kids. And I really don't like being told what to do. And I really don't like being told that I can't do something. So it fired me up. I'm sure that I was polite back, but I was not real happy. But besides not liking being told what to do, I also felt deep down in my gut that I was capable of providing the learning environment for my kid to succeed. Opposite of that interaction, a year or so prior, my pediatrician told me that my son was going to succeed in an environment where his anxiety was reduced, where he felt comfortable, and where he felt loved. So having been given those 2 opposite sets of advice, one saying that I was incapable of providing what my child needed, and the other that said our home was probably the best thing for him, I chose to follow my pediatrician's advice, and we have been homeschooling since. Now, like many parents of autistic kids, I kind of feel like we've been homeschooling since day one. Some of these skills that come so naturally to neurotypical kids do not come as easily to neurodivergent kids. Doing things like learning to say animal sounds, or learning to point or gesture or ask politely for things, those did not come easily to my son. So from day one, I had to teach him to do those things. We're still learning to do some of those things. And I think, like most parents, the idea of adding teaching academics to all of the things you're already teaching your autistic child at home, it can feel really overwhelming. But I want you to know that you are capable of educating your child. Nobody knows your child better than you do, especially as the mom or dad of an autistic kid. I think that you have the tools that you need to educate your child. It will not look like Instagram. It won't be fancy. It might not even be pretty, but it is totally doable, I promise. So here are 3 tips that I have for educating your autistic child at home. Number 1, meet basic needs first. Now, this might sound totally obvious. You have to meet their basic needs, of course. We all know, especially those of us that have studied education at all, you have to meet a child's basic needs before they can learn. They have to be fed. They have to have slept. They have to feel safe. They have to feel loved. Those needs have to be met before education can occur. But for an autistic child, those needs might be a little different, and they might be harder to meet. A lot of autistic kids have dietary issues. They are sleep deprived. They may have higher anxiety or stress in their life. You may have to be more intentional with meeting those needs first, and you may need to really think about what those needs are. For a long time, we had an indoor swing and a balance bike and a trampoline so that my son could take as many sensory breaks as he needed. There were days when he would spend hours with his headphones on swinging, providing that sensory input that he needed in order to be able to learn. And whenever he started getting really stressed out, we would tell him to go swing for a little while, and he loved it. And that was really his place and his space. So before you can start with home education for academic subjects, you need to spend some time just working on getting those basic needs met. That's okay, and that is important work that you are doing. If you sent them to school and those needs were not being met, they're not gonna learn there either. it really has to occur first. This is one way that I think that homeschooling can be superior to a public education for a lot of autistic kids. When a child is in a public school environment, sometimes it can be difficult to meet those increased needs that autistic kids have, the sensory breaks or a quieter learning environment. A lot of autistic kids have very strange sleep schedules. Maybe you can adjust your homeschooling routine to allow your kid to sleep a little later or wake up a little earlier. All of those things might be really beneficial for your child, and I think this is one area where homeschooling has a one-up. All right, number 2, focus on your child, not other children. If you are always looking around at what other kids are doing, you are going to feel very discouraged. Your kid is unique. You know the saying, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. Every kid, honestly, follows their own timeline in any number of different areas. And that is definitely true for autistic kids as well. Instead of focusing on where they should be, where they're behind, or where they're ahead, think about what the next step is for them and celebrate those victories. My 7-year-old has dyspraxia, so his handwriting is pretty behind. If I were to overly focus with how behind his handwriting is, I think I would feel defeated and discouraged all the time. And it is really easy for me to get into that rut of feeling discouraged. However, if I recognize the small steps and the small victories he's making, one, it helps him to feel loved and celebrated in his academics, but it also helps me to have more joy in our homeschooling journey. So maybe he wrote his name better than he did yesterday. That is a win. Is he still behind? Yes, but are we moving in the right direction? Absolutely.
Okay, fun.
Yeah, you did it? Good. Another thing that's common for autistic kids is to have asynchronous development, which is super fun. So you may have a kid who is able to read on a high school level, but can't physically write a sentence. That is a challenging thing, but focus on your child and how you can help them move ahead in areas where they're able to do so, while also accommodating and gently helping them in those deficit areas. All right, and number 3, follow their lead. Now, if your kid is anything like mine, they probably have a special interest. These special interests can be really helpful in your schooling. Maybe you take an interest-based approach with these and use them to bring in other subject matters. On a very base level, you can probably use them to find resources to pull in to make them more interested. My 7-year-old is really into Minecraft. Once I ordered a Minecraft handwriting book for him. Now, it did not make him very passionate about handwriting, but I think that is kind of the idea. Finding the things that they're interested in and helping spread that curiosity and interest into the other subject areas. Let's take that same example, Minecraft. Maybe you help them find Minecraft fiction that they would be interested in reading, and that you can teach them to read using those Minecraft books. Maybe they want to write a Minecraft story or draw some Minecraft art. Maybe you take the opportunity to study rocks and minerals and farming and all of those other fun topics that they have on Minecraft. Maybe you even play Minecraft with them and they are chatting back and forth on the messaging part of that and learning how to type and spell at the same time. You could even do a Minecraft themed spelling lesson with your kid. Honestly, I feel like my autistic son has forced me to be more creative and more out of the box and really trust his lead in a lot of areas that has really made our homeschooling experience more fun and exciting. Honestly, this could look a million different ways. But bottom line, if you are focusing on your child's interests and playing on their strengths, you really can't lose. It really is a winning move. Now, these are just 3 of the tips that I have for homeschooling your autistic kid. What tips do you have? What have you found that works well for you? Are there some specific topics that you would like me to discuss, some specific practical questions maybe about how homeschooling looks in our home with an autistic child? Please comment below. I love hearing your comments and I try to answer every one. Make sure to like and subscribe so you can see future videos covering autism and other neurodiversities, because we've got a lot of it in our house, and other homeschooling topics. Thank you so much for watching.